Mr. David exited the room to fetch the nurse attending to Naomi. He requested the uniform Naomi had been wearing before her clothes were changed. The nurse handed the uniform to Mr. David, who then placed it neatly on the back of his seat outside. After a moment of looking at Naomi, Tina left the hospital room, realizing she was running late for work. She left Mr. David at the hospital and headed home. Mr. David tipped the nurse and asked her to take care of Naomi before he departed for his car. To his astonishment, Mr. David discovered he had 2 flat tires, which he hadn't noticed earlier when he came to leave Naomi's uniform. With only 1 spare tire, he decided to walk down the road to seek help. A few minutes later, Mr. David returned with assistance, and his tire was replaced. It was time for him to travel back to the city where he had hit Naomi to search for her parents. As Mr. David neared S-City, something peculiar happened. He reached for the uniform he had placed on the back seat, but to his great bewilderment, it was missing. Mr. David immediately braked and decided to pull over to search for the uniform. He parked, got out, and searched, but the uniform was nowhere to be found. He called his wife, asking if she had taken the uniform, but she assured him she hadn't touched it. Mr. David stood there, puzzled. First, his tires were flat, and now the uniform was missing. If his wife hadn't taken it, then who did? When he called his wife, she was at the office with her best friend, Deborah, who had come to visit. Deborah asked Tina why her husband would be inquiring about a school uniform, wondering if they had adopted a child without telling her. Tina explained how her husband had hit a girl after visiting someone in another city. Deborah was moved by the story and expressed a desire to see the girl in the hospital. Back at Naomi's house, her father, Mr. Bry, returned from the police station after reporting his missing daughter to find the door to his house open. Despite having instructed his wife to keep the doors shut, he found the house unusually quiet. He slowly entered Naomi's room, finding his wife Sandra sitting on the floor, holding Naomi's teddy bear and crying. Mr. Bry, deeply saddened by his wife's state, comforted her and reassured her that the police would do their best to find Naomi. Sandra, distraught, questioned if Naomi had survived the operation and if that was why the man who hit her hadn't come looking for them. Mr. Bry urged her not to think negatively and to remain hopeful. He suggested they freshen up, eat out, and then visit the hospital in hopes that the man would return. Meanwhile, Mr. David was still perplexed about the missing uniform. Determined to find Naomi's parents, he decided to head back to the hospital where he had taken her, thinking they might have come there looking for her. At the hospital, Tina and Deborah arrived to check on Naomi. Tina held Naomi's hand and felt a slight grip, indicating she might be waking up. Suddenly, Naomi started having a seizure, prompting Tina to call for the doctor. The doctor arrived quickly and began attending to Naomi while Tina called her husband, informing him of the situation. Mr. David, having arrived at the hospital, received the call and felt immense worry. He stayed in his car, overwhelmed by anxiety, until his wife called again, updating him on Naomi's condition. Relieved but still concerned, Mr. David entered the hospital to see Naomi. To his shock, he found Naomi's uniform back in his car, only for it to disappear again when he showed it to his wife. Both confused and distraught, Mr. David and Tina wondered if someone else was involved in Naomi's accident and if there were deeper, hidden factors at play. They were left questioning what was really going on. Stay tuned for the next episode to uncover more of the story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed this episode. See you in the next episode. Thank you and God bless.